All right, welcome to the introduction to aggregate supply. And what we're going to see here is we have actually two different curves for aggregate supply. So, whereas aggregate demand was pretty straightforward, we had that one negatively sloping, downward sloping aggregate demand curve. When it comes to aggregate supply, we have one that looks like we would expect it to, like the supply curve. It is a positively sloping, upward sloping curve labeled SRAS. Our axes are the same. We have APL, aggregate price level, as our Y, real GDP as our X. So we have this upward sloping SRAS curve, but then over here, move out of the way, we have a vertically sloping LRAS curve. So, natural question, what do each of these stand for? Well, SRAS is short run aggregate supply. LRAS is long run aggregate supply. So what this actually means for you is that we have two different aggregate supply curves. We measure aggregate supply differently whether we are in the short run or when we are in the long run. So this one is more complicated than aggregate demand, there's no doubt about that. So here I have the main assumption that causes our aggregate supply curve to be positively sloping in the short run. So first of all, what's the relationship between price level and output? Just like with supply, the higher the price level, the greater the level of output. And that makes sense because firms, companies are seeking to maximize profits. With higher price level, that encourages them to produce more, so we will have greater output. So that makes sense. This is the one that probably is the more intuitive of the two. This is true, upward sloping, the aggregate supply curve, when all production costs can be taken as fixed. So what that means is, when we're producing somewhere along this short run aggregate supply curve, production costs, which we would use as input costs, so the price of, so we are t-shirt manufacturers, so think about the input costs that might go into that. We have the resource, the cotton, we have the other resources if we're mixing or blending with polyester or any kind of other fabric. Then we also have the machinery that we need to print and to press the shirts. We also have the people, the labor that we need to hire in order to produce them, the shipping costs. All of these things are production costs. So on the short run curve, we are taking all of those as fixed, meaning that they are not changing. So we are paying the exact same wage to the workers. We're paying the same amount for cotton. We're paying the same amount for if we're renting our machinery or paying our rent. All of those things we're viewing as fixed. And when those costs are indeed fixed, this is what your aggregate supply curve will look like. It will be upward sloping, positively sloping. All right? Now, this curve can shift. Just like aggregate demand curve can shift, so can the SRAS. We have three things that change the SRAS. So this one is actually, it's more simple when it comes to changes. Conceptually, it might be a little bit more difficult, but it's okay. So we have, forgive me that it's in blue, so kind of just makes it clear that you can see the change. So we have our SRAS curve, our initial one, shifts to the right, remember, increase right. So commodity prices, nominal wages, productivity. Commodity prices, these are things of economy-wide significance, because remember, we're looking at the macro economy, big picture. So it cannot be the price of cotton, because while cotton would affect the supply of myself as a cotton t-shirt producer, it would not affect the production costs of a farmer who produces fruit, apples, oranges, or something, anything else like that. It has to be something of economy-wide significance. So what commodity prices is really code for is oil prices. I mean, that's not always it, but that is probably 99% of the time when we talk about commodity prices, because that has economy-wide significance, because no matter what you are producing, chances are very strong that you have some sort of transportation costs to worry about. And so that affects pretty much every type of business in our economy. So if oil prices, commodity prices fall, we would have an increase in short-run aggregate supply. So that curve would shift to the left. On the other hand, if oil prices were to go up, it becomes more expensive now for us to produce our thing. So short-run aggregate supply is going to shift to the left because everything is going to be less profitable with those higher input or commodity prices. So commodity prices. Nominal wages work the same way. That's another input. Nominal is remember we talked about nominal wages, that's the wage that is being paid in today's terms. So when you get a paycheck and it says $100, that is your nominal wage. So you don't have to convert it to real wages or anything like that. Keep it simple. Think about it from the perspective of the producer again. Higher nominal wages are not going to allow them to produce as much stuff because they have to pay all of their workers more, so they cannot afford as many workers, or they cannot afford as many of other resources. Regardless, they won't be as productive. So higher wages shift the SRAS left. Lower wages would allow them to hire more workers, so it will shift to the right. We will go over that one especially. This is the big one, is nominal wages. That's probably the one that is going to be 8 times out of 10 that's we're really going to care about. And productivity. More productive shifts supply right, less productive shifts our SRAS to the left. Now in the long run, we notice that it is vertical. This is vertically sloping when all prices are flexible. So we're talking about here, it's upward sloping when you can say that production costs are fixed. They won't be fixed forever. Eventually the price of cotton changes, or the wages change, or the price of oil changes. When we have those changes, then this curve is vertical. And so now what is the relationship between aggregate price level and real GDP, or aggregate output? Well, now we see that there is in fact no relationship. A change in price level has no effect on output in the long run. In the short run, a change in price level causes a higher level of output. In the long run, change in price level has no effect on output. That is probably something that you want to drill into your brain. One more time, so third time's a charm. That's how important this is. In the short run, an increase in APL leads to an increase in aggregate output. In the long run, a change in APL has no effect on aggregate output. So, all prices are flexible, so that's when oil prices, or especially wages is the big one. Once they have changed, they have become flexible, and we're going to talk about that a lot more in the very next video. Things that would actually shift the LRAS curve, shifted to the right, increase, or decrease it, shifted to the left, would be changes in resources. So here we're talking about long-run economic growth, not temporary, long-run economic growth. If we have more resources, greater resources, resources of better quality, that's going to shift it to the right. Better productivity, shift it to the right. Better technology, shift it to the right, increase it. Obviously, if we lost those things, it would shift it to the left. So that is pretty much the long-run curve for now. We're going to get into a lot more detail in the next couple of videos. This is just an introduction. That's pretty much it as an intro to aggregate supply. All right, until next time, this has been a LaMoney production.